Boop 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 boop. I really need a theme song.
Yeah, you kind of do. I got you. I can make one.
All right. Welcome back to the regular end times that we ended before, but then you guys let the police back outside. I have not received a cease and desist or a subpoena or a summons of any sort yet from the last episode. So I'm just going to do my best to get one today. That's what I'm going to try to do. I cut my hair. I switched my hair to the other side just because fuck it. I don't, And I have another human guest in my studio. He has blessed us with his presence. The artist, one and only writer, rapper, poet, Ryan Newkirk. Thanks, Mr. Newkirk, for coming on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm sorry I had to blindfold you when we came to this secret location. I hope you understand.
Yeah, it's not the first time.
I'm also sorry there's shit everywhere. Nobody's worked in this place except me, and I wasn't supposed to. Before we start, today on what we're tugging, the ultimate guide, we're going to talk about what white people don't understand, which I think would be considered anti-racism, probably. That's a term.
Fair enough.
I understand the term
anti-racism.
I understand the term by itself. Like you can be anti-anything, but I didn't understand it as like an action. You know what I mean? Like, so that's something I learned. So now there's a word for some of this stuff. You and I have gotten into a lot of discussions about this shit.
All right.
So I'd like you to let me know if I'm doing something stupid or if you need me to shut up for a second, because there's going to be a section of this where I'm going to yell at white people, my fellow white people, because there's lots of shit, and living in Ohio, I know you see it too. I just get pissed. I get pissed all the fucking time. So there's a lot of things that I'm going to go through. Since I didn't get arrested, since I didn't hear anything back, I'm not going to press my luck with Panera, so I dusted another one off the shelf from a previous show. So today's show, Racism, is brought to you by Starbucks. It's okay for our employees to be anti-racist now because it's trending. So let's keep that up. So, okay. You and I have known each other for quite some time.
Yeah.
Grew up probably about 10 minutes away from each other. If you date of birth, we're probably, 10 months apart? Pretty sure. If you look at our licenses, height, weight, hair color, eye color, all the same. What's the difference between me and you?
Well, one of us looks good, and the other is fucking
Derrick.
fat. No, I'm joking. No, but if we're being honest,
Yes.
we're definitely talking skin color.
We got a complexion difference slightly, but I don't see color, right? That's what they say, that they can't tell the difference because there's no difference between any of us.
Fucking colorblind.
And yet, for some reason, at every turn, the same police that you and I grew up with fuck with you. And I just want to know, like, there's lots of things that we could talk about, but I want to specifically talk about your last encounter. You just recently beat a case, right? In a court case? You're allowed to talk about it?
Yes, correct.
Okay. If you would like, what happened? Can you give me set the backdrop. You had a living situation, but you wanted to keep working. So you stayed?
Yeah. So basically, like, I'm living in Columbus, and I had a weird living situation going on. I was pretty much homeless. Like, I didn't really want to say that on camera, but fuck it. Like, I was pretty much homeless at the time, but I was still working.
Right. You were trying to do the right thing. You were going to continue working. You weren't just going to quit and go do whatever.
Yeah, I wasn't going to quit and just go be homeless. Like, what the fuck? So I was still getting money, working my ass off. So I was staying at an extended stay, like a hotel and shit. And after, I want to say, a day, I worked like 10 hours, 10, 12 hours. And next day, I go to work. Everything's cool. I go to an Ohio State basketball game, chilling. I'm tired. I'm running off fumes at this point because I just been working. I got up the next morning, went to work. Like, I'm fucking tired. I go to a hotel, the hotel I was staying at, and I was on my phone in my vehicle, and I ended up dozing off for about 10, 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And that's when I got a knock on my window. And an officer comes up and he's like, "Hey, man, we just want to check on you, make sure you're not overdosed." Because, heroin seems to be a problem in Ohio. And I answer. You know, I didn't think anything of it. I open the door. I answer. He's like, I'm like, yo, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm responsive. And he just, I don't know, bro. I don't know. After that, he was like, all right, cool. Well, your car smells like weed and marijuana, and I see paraphernalia in there, so I'm going to have to search your vehicle. Could you step out of the car? And there, right when that happened, bro, I don't want to say I got aggressive with the police. It's more so just questioning the police because I'm a human. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm sleeping...
You've been through this before.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the thing.
I've been through it before.
Because I can't imagine, because they start out nice, and then they always ask those dumb questions. They ask you the question, you tell them the exact answer, and for some reason they don't believe you.
Yeah.
And that pisses me. I mean, even just hearing it pisses me the fuck off. So I understand why you would get angry. But anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And, you know, I'm just asking. I'm like, yo, what's the deal? Like, why? I thought the whole reason you came over here was to check on me, to do your job as a police officer, to protect me, to make sure I'm okay. If I'm overdosed, like, here's the thing that gets me. If I was actually overdosed, what was going to happen? They're going to Narcan me. I was going to go to hospital and everything was going to be sweet, right?
Right.
So how did it lead to, oh, I'm going to have to search your vehicle because it smells like marijuana and I can see paraphernalia? It's like, I'm just asking, like, how did this lead to that?
Right.
So he continues to, like, sidestep my questions, and he grabs me. He eventually grabs me.
You in the car still, or you got out?
Yeah, no, I'm in the car. I'm sitting in my car.
Yeah.
But at this point, the door is open because I'm thinking, like, I live at this hotel.
Right.
I just fell asleep in my car. So he opens the door. I open the door for him, which I probably shouldn't have done.
Right.
But
well, yeah, now you know. I don't know. I probably would have done the same thing.
yeah, you know, I stay here.
You're trying to comply. That's the thing.
I'm trying to comply with the police.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so he does that. I'm asking him, well, why are you searching my car? I don't give you consent because I didn't do anything. There was no like actual reason as to why you stopped me. I was already stopped in my car. My car's off. I'm not driving. I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm just sleeping in my car.
Right.
And he yanks me out of my car. So as he's yanking me, I proceed to go and reach to grab my phone because that's my first instinct. Like, I'm going to grab my phone. It has my ID, my license, everything pretty much I need. And, like, if I could record the shit,
right, yeah,
then, like, so be it. So as I'm going to grab my phone, which is sitting on my seat, it was the pickup truck I drive. It's not a big cab, right. So it's not much I can put in there. The other officer comes over, he kind of tackles me. So now at this point, I'm like, what the fuck? So he grabs my other arm, and it's not so much that you're resisting arrest. It's so much that you have two people who just came and bothered you out the blue.
You just woke up.
I just woke up.
And I mean, and also people who don't know what it's like to have a confused living situation where you were doing everything right. You had money. You had a job. You did everything out of your way to make sure you could continue working, and you get depressed when you stay in that shitty ass motel. So sometimes you want to sleep in the car. I understand that. And then you wake up and two cops are fucking with. At first they're like, "Hey, we're friendly," and then all of a sudden they're tackling you outside of the thing.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it didn't make any sense.
What was the outcome of that? After that whole discussion, they search your car. They end up. What did they charged you? What did they charge you with?
Obstruction of business.
So
because all right, here's the thing. Here's the thing. So I didn't comply with the search because I had weed in my car.
Okay.
I get it. Like there was no way they would have known
right
that I had it in my car. Either way, it doesn't matter. They ended up searching my car. They dump everything out. Mind you, like I said, I didn't really
pretty much in there.
Pretty much my life in my car. Like I had a bag of Cheez-Its in there, and the motherfucker dumps the bag of Cheez-Its out on my fucking seat. And I was just like appalled. So he takes a bag of weed. I want to say it's like 14 grams. I just got it. He takes a bag of weed. He calls the other officer over. He's like, hey, all right, so this is what we're going to do. He takes it out the jar. He gives me back the jar. He said, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take this, put it in this bag, and then you put it in the side over here.
The side of what?
I'm literally sitting there like listening to this shit. And I'm like, the side of what? What the fuck are they talking about?
Okay.
So then he gets on the dispatcher. He goes, yeah, so we found a guy. All he had was paraphernalia. It was just a bowl, and we smashed it. Mind you, I'm sitting here. I'm like, you guys just grabbed 14 grams from me and stole my half joint that was in the ashtray. So, like, what the actual fuck? So, yeah, they put me in the back of the cop car in handcuffs, checking to see if I had warrants. He was asking me questions like, did I steal the car? Your car's registered as a different color. What are you doing here? Your license are suspended. He was just throwing everything at me. So after they didn't find anything, he goes, well, we can't really get you in trouble for the weed.
Right.
Which is why we searched your car. But we're just going to give you obstruction of business. I get the ticket, and it says that I pushed one of the officers. It says that I went to go reach for a weapon, though no weapon was found. It basically said I fought I fought the fucking officers.
So, because this is what's really confusing, and I was honestly on the fence. I was going to leave it up to you. I didn't know if you wanted to share the part that the weed was in the car, because people. I mean, even though we're probably a year and a half away from that being legal anyway, people like to use that as an excuse to do things. But what's so fucking confusing to me, and to probably most white people, is why you and I know the police, so it makes sense after a second. But you're confused when you first see it. They're not going to get you in enough trouble for the weed. Like it was like that was. It is what it is. Right. But they think, in their twisted mind, I don't know what it was. It's something about you. There's something about you that they determined you've done something wrong, and I'm going to prove it. That's what they think, and they're trying to prove it, and they do that shit. And how long ago was that?
February.
Okay, so
February, March. Yeah, it was this year.
Okay, and you had to call a lawyer, and you had to do all that shit because they were trying
I had to get Saul Goodman as my lawyer, and
I love that show.
Yeah, that motherfucker did magic, man. He worked wonders. And he calls me, and he's like, hey, man, I just want to give you an update. Like, I don't know. It's looking pretty good because, all this shit that's going on right now.
Right.
He's like, that definitely helps your case, and your prosecutor's black. So.
Did he say that?
Yeah.
Did he look like Saul Goodman, or did he...
Nah, but he kind of sound like he just got the grittiness like Saul, bro. And I was like, I trust him.
All right, okay.
So I'm just like, all right, cool. He's like, yeah, and your prosecutor's black, so that probably helps your ass out a lot too. I'm like, fuck yeah, like, amen, bro. Like shit.
So you beat it then. That's what happened?
Yeah, they dismissed the case because they didn't,
there's nothing.
They went over evidence and they're like, yo, we can't.
And they would have been, if they would have just taken, see, that's the arrogance of the thing. If they would have taken you at exactly what it was, for some reason they searched your car anyway. They shouldn't have. But if they did it and they went through and taken it at what it was, they could have got you for possession. They wanted to. But it was just not a big enough charge. It was their arrogance that they decided that they want to stick it to you for some reason, even though you've done nothing. You were just hanging out. All you're doing is trying to work. It's the weirdest shit. Yeah. So he called you and just let you know this week, right? Or last week?
Yeah.
So how did it feel? Because that you talked to me in private about some of the things that you talked about, some of the things that the officer said to you and things like that, and it weighed. You were talking about how much it depressed you over the last couple of months.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I talked about it with a lot of people, and especially like my mom and you, and it's like it does take a toll on you, especially as a black man, or it doesn't even matter what color you are. Like when somebody fucks with you and you're powerless, you feel little, you feel small, right? Just imagine like being a black man and you doing everything right and you're living your life and shit's not really working out. You already got the weight of all that bullshit on your shoulders, and here come these two, no offense, white cops that want to fuck up your day for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It breaks you, bro. You're broken. Because then at that point, now I'm scared. You know what I'm saying? Like, real shit. Like, I got on the phone and I called my mom where I'm damn near crying because I'm like, yo, I don't know if they was trying to hurt me or like what the fuck was going on. Like, I need to get the fuck up out of here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because like when you're going through that shit, a lot of things run through your head, especially like being black, bro. It's like, am I gonna make it out of the situation? And like I'm me. Like I never thought that it happens to me, but like I never thought that thought would have ran through my head one day.
Right.
Fucking with the police, bro.
Yeah.
Sleeping in my car. Like, you see that guy who just got shot in Atlanta in the Wendy's parking lot?
I did not see that one, though. Do you remember what his name was?
Oh, dude. I gotta look it up.
That's right. We can look it up.
Yeah.
Because there's been a bunch of, I mean, the police brutality has been absolutely insane. I just can't believe, I never expected that this would be their response. It's literally
Rashard Brooks.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were you going to say about him?
I guess he was just inebriated, sleeping in his car in Wendy's.
Same thing.
Yeah. And I mean, he ended up fighting the police, but that's the thing. Like, bro, you can't just...
27 years old.
Yeah, you can't... Same age as me. You can't just wake a motherfucker up out of sleep and start fucking with him and expect shit to go sweet.
Right. So everybody's always like, just comply with the officers. And you did. You told them what you were doing. You told them that you live here. You told them, I mean... Didn't they say to you at some point, did they say something, I don't want to misquote you, but didn't they say something about not being able to afford to fight it?
Yeah. So like when I'm in the car, it got to a point where I'm questioning them. Like, I'm like, yo, so you're saying my license is suspended. Answer me this. Like, how's it suspended when this A and B and all this, and then they stopped talking. I can't get an answer out of them. So I'm just like, yo, if you want to talk about gangsters and criminals and goons, I'm looking at them right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling them this shit. So he's like, I'm like, yo, I'm going to sue you guys. I'm gonna, and I tried to sue him, but I just was like, that's a lot more money.
Time and money.
Time and money. So I was like, I just need a lawyer to actually beat the case and not get in trouble. Because I know I didn't do anything wrong. And he's just sitting there like, well, I don't think he was taught. He didn't necessarily say it to me. He said it to the other officer. It was a younger guy. And he's just like, most people don't have the money to fight the case anyway. And I'm sitting in the back and I'm listening to this shit like, oh, bitch, you fucking with the right one today.
Like I said, you have money. See, that's the thing. Like, that's the difference. If you were working, you were like, and I don't know, because what else pisses me off is all of those conversations that people try to have to discredit black people's stories, that they're always talking about it from the eyes of justice, from the eyes of the law.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, the law spoke and you are acquitted. Like, it was nothing, what pisses me off the most about this entire thing is the fact that they go through the song and dance. He has to, like, your lawyer's like, don't even show up. He's trying to do you favors, which is, I'm super glad you found that guy, because a lot of them don't. They're just like, fuck it. Yeah. They look at the evidence and the court just says there's not enough. They drop it. It's nothing, which means by the eyes of the law, by any of those same exact parameters that you're trying to say that you wouldn't have gotten into the situation, they have determined you were fine. So you were right the entire time. But it doesn't matter at that moment. At that moment, those cops are going to do whatever the fuck they want to you. It could have been anybody.
Right.
I have an interesting, because I was fucked with by the police too. We grew up in the same area. So there's not, the cops just have a certain, it's not as bad as Columbus from what I've heard. Because that's where you were, right, at the time?
Yeah.
That I've had all kinds of shit, that they're fucking with my friends, fucking with whatever. I mean, I had a time when I was frisked by an unmarked police van. It wasn't even police, it was a van. It was just a Pontiac, whatever. Drove up, told me to I was 14. I was talking on my cell phone, or my mom's cell phone, walking up and down the street. And then they jump out, flash a badge, and just said, put your hands on the car. There's been a B&E 2 streets over. And at 14, I didn't even know what a B&E was. I didn't watch Cops. None of that. So he just says, put your hands on the car, and frisks me. Then he's like, why are you so sweaty? I'm like, well, it's 90 degrees and I just dumped water. I had long hair back then. So I looked like a dirty fucking hippie. That's what they saw. They saw a 6 foot whatever piece of shit, and I fit the description. So at that time, all I said was, that's my mom's house. And I was kind of nervous. I was talking to Ashley, and then I set the phone on there, and then they just go, that's your house. And I said, yeah, my mom's right inside the door, and the door was open. It's all the way down the street. Then they say, okay, and get in the car and leave. So that taught me several things. Like, as I got older, I started to realize I could explain myself out of situations, right? Like, especially at school and things like that. I started to realize, like, my voice, my face, my smile, all of that was things that I could say and do. So it didn't matter. I could have said that exact same story. It was 4.5 sentences that I told those cops. They moved on. I don't know for sure, but there's no way that they would have walked up to you talking on your cell phone outside of your street, pretty like similar neighborhood. They would have questioned you. They would have been like, what's going on here? Try to talk to your parents. I point and he's like, okay, like this guy's an idiot. Just move on. And I realize what most people are like, what most white people, they take that and they go, that means if you do and say the right things, you can get out of it. And then I'm like, no. What I learned at that age is that it's my face. It's the fact that I can do and say certain things in certain situations because I have this thing that they're not assuming me guilty from the beginning. They give me the benefit of the doubt because of my complexion. Literally, that's it. And it's not even the case. Like there's different degrees of that too with white people, because you see the poor, like people like no offense, white people. I'm white, so it's like no.
It's all right. Go ahead.
If they're missing some teeth and stuff, that's a big notch down. Like, and then it's like if they're not like, and I don't mean to like meth heads. Basically, what I'm saying. There's a degree of that stuff, but they still don't get it. And cause I thought Philando Castile, like, cause they wanted to give fucking Eric Garner shit. That he was resisting arrest. He should have complied. He should have, you know what I mean? And then every single time my reaction is always like, so he deserved to die then? Is that what you're saying? And they don't want to say it. White people won't say it.
What pisses me off, like, what was you doing?
Nothing. That's what I'm saying. And they're like,
selling loose cigarettes?
Right.
Somebody deserves it. How are you fucking like, how does that equate to dying?
To death. And then they're always like, oh, the officer, it wasn't racially charged, or it's all gaslighting. Like, it's all Philando Castile. I thought that was the first one that I was like, it's all there. The man didn't even say 2 words to the officer, and he shot the fuck out of him with his wife and daughter in the car. And a lot of people are now just seeing, and I saw it then, but the video of his infant daughter trying to calm down his mother.
Yeah.
And shit that she doesn't understand, like should never understand. And for some fucking reason, people still want to be like, oh, it's not racially charged. It's not. But I'm like, you don't get it. Like, it has nothing to do with motives. It has nothing to do. It is the power that guy has over that individual. The cop has over a black man, or over a poor person, or over anybody. Because I've been in powerless situations and shit too. And like I said, and people take that. They're like, oh, they fuck with white people too. And I'm like, okay, so then you should give a shit then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right, like, bro, that doesn't make sense to me. Like,
none at all.
Oh, more white people die by the police. Well, why aren't you out there protesting,
yeah,
weirdo?
Then get the fuck out. See, because historically even, every single thing that benefits poor black people benefits poor white people too. Like, probably, if not more. So then it's like, shut the hell up.
There's
like
more of them. So it only makes sense.
And the gaslighting things, because they all want to say shit that they're just like, not all cops are bad. And they love to fucking say that. And then now there's videos of cops going, like the cop going up to the 9-year-old little black girl. Did you see that? And she said, not all cops are bad. And I'm like, again, it just feels like you sort of missed the point there. But if you really want to go around telling all these people, they'll say what about black on black crimes? They'll say not all cops are bad. They'll say so I'm going to go on a tangent here. Okay. I don't know if you've ever had people talk to you about the Confederate Army, the Civil War. That I've had white people literally tell me that it was not about slavery. They're always like, it was about taxes, and it was about they'll bring up all this. Have you heard that before?
Yeah.
So
okay, but with that being said, if it's they're in a sense they're kind of not wrong.
Yeah.
But what people fail to realize is that the biggest part, me and my mom were talking about this the other day, like when you go to different countries and you conquer them and you grab stuff, right? You grab like oil,
yeah,
diamonds, shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Why we are part of economics, bro.
Yes. That's what people don't understand.
Yeah.
And here's a quote. So if they're such an expert on the Civil War, because I don't know if they have relatives or whatever, then you can go, okay, who is the vice president of the Confederacy then? And they're experts, so they must know. Alexander Stevens. I didn't know that. But he's actually quoted saying that their new government, it was a speech in Georgia called the Cornerstone Speech, that their new government's foundations are laid, its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the N-word and I'm not going to say it, don't start shit with me, is not equal to the white man. Then he goes on that slavery, subordination to the superior race is his natural and normal condition. And that is the vice president of the Confederacy saying that the entire Southern government lays on that truth. It's about slavery. And no, what they say it's about economics. Yes, because that was completely built on slaves. It was 100%. And they want to say, they want to blame the Confederacy for that. No, it's America. The entire fucking thing was built on the back. That's how they got so much further than everybody, by exploiting an entire race of people, taking them from where they lived and all that shit. Only reason I know who the vice president is because they were talking about tearing down that statue of Alexander Stevens. I would have never known if you didn't start to tear down that shit, even though our president says these beautiful statues of some people that have done nothing but, like, if they want to talk about history, why don't we see a statue of Nat Turner, for example? That always pisses me off because they just made a movie about him, the Birth of a Nation.
Yeah.
So, okay, fine. People down south will actually bring him up and they don't want to talk about him because because that was tried to suppress back then. And that same exact thing all these years later that everybody's like, no, we're not going to talk about that because he killed women and children and because he whatever. And I was like, he was enslaved. Like, you don't understand. They were killing his women and children. They were, and he led a successful revolt. That's what it was. And he killed a bunch of white people, and people like to get pissed about it. That I was like, no, he killed slave owners is what he did. And it was one of the first successful revolts in America, but it's not taught like that. His grave wasn't even marked except for like a highway sign. It was like one of those little things about this big. It just said, here lies Nat Turner. He was originally, I think they hung him from a tree in front of everybody because apparently everybody liked to see that shit back then. And then, then they buried him, and he's like, essentially his body lays on the side of the road. That was basically it. And I was like, if it's about history, then Nat Turner is our history. You said it, that you said if George Washington, I don't want to misquote your article, but you said if George Washington is part of our history, then Black history is our history. Like that.
Yeah, pretty much, bro. Like
there's not, because just as big of a chunk. So again, I'm sorry I'm talking so much.
No, go ahead.
Because this is the shit that pisses me off so fucking bad. Because if you do rudimentary research, you can disprove these people, these white people's points that they want to bring up. They're not. You notice they're always repeated. They're never. How many times have a white person interrupted you and said an original thought when you're sitting here talking about race?
0 times.
Every single time.
0.
Every time it is the exact same shit repeated. And white people love to do it. And they don't just do it to you. That's what I'm trying to say. They say it to me, that I'll be sitting there. They repeat the same shit and act like it's an original point. Like I'm going to think it's interesting.
And they expect you to agree.
Yes. Because they're that closed off to the fact that, oh, this is not my opinion. This is not a debate point. This is the truth. Because the only reason they've never read it in a book, they've never seen it. They've seen it in magazines probably, but they've heard it from their shitty relatives, from their shitty friends. That's it. That's 100% it. Because they assume we're too dumb to look it up, and we're not going to look it up or not understand it or whatever. But like now, what I realized has changed in this whole entire thing is that people like, okay, I'm going to stop on this story here. A guy brought up about movie characters that he said, why do they keep replacing, excuse me. He said, why do they keep bringing up or replacing white characters with black characters for no reason in movies, cartoons, whatever? And I literally asked him at this point that I was just like, do you really want to talk about this? Because I was like, I don't think you do. Because, and he was asking me like, oh, wow, I just thought about this really interesting thing. And I was like, no, you just repeated it from somebody else. So then he brings up, I just say, what, for example, what are we talking about? And then he digs himself in a hole immediately. He says, what if they replace the Black Panther with a white guy? And I was like, clearly not the same fucking thing. Like,
literally,
I don't even think I need to go into an explanation of why that's not the same thing.
I was upset he even said that.
Right.
Or
so then he goes on and he's like, let me think of another one. He does. He says, that's a bad one. And I'm like, okay, so your dumb white friends never question that one. I guess that'd be fine. But so then of course they'd be pissed because it'd be baseless and completely makes no sense. So then he brings up The Princess and the Frog. And I was like, okay, I had to think about that one because I haven't seen that one maybe once or twice. That's 1920s Louisiana. that I was just like, her race had a ton to do with that story. Yes. And I mean, whether little kids understand it or not, there's a bunch of little nuggets in there. Some of it is a little bit, it seemed like the voodoo stuff that I was just like, this almost seems not tasteful. But I was like, some of it seems like, I was like, I don't know. I want to see who the writer was just to make sure, because some of it seemed like I was like, are you guys just exploiting things to do dumb things? But anyway, Disney's an asshole. So that's a different story too. This is not brought to you by Disney. This is brought to you by Starbucks, just in case.
Fucking Starbucks.
Just in case you forgot. You think our hot cocoa is bad, you should try our activism. If we this is a serious program, RJ. We need to, okay, so here's that those conversations didn't make any fucking sense. So the Little Mermaid's whiteness in the cartoon had nothing to do with the story. It was by default. It was by default because they knew that most little white girls would go see it. The fact is proven that that's by default, because when you take that away, white people freak the fuck out.
Oh my God.
They've never seen any. They're like, oh my, what is going on?
Why is she black? Why is a mermaid, a creature that doesn't exist, black?
She's a fish person. Like, I was like, she could be blue. It doesn't fucking matter what
Right.
color she is.
If she was blue, it'd be sweet.
And you know what happens when you end up, if you actually get into a conversation about this shit, they generally will say, oh, I didn't even really care anyway. And I'm like, you didn't care. What was confusing to me for a long time that took me to understand is seeing my black friends and coworkers and things like that they are like, yeah, but it's not, because you said something about white people just a little bit ago that you said, no offense, 2 white cops is what you said. And that used to confuse me, because I was just like, but you're telling the truth. So why are you nervous about that? But I realized that was my privilege, because what I realized is that you're not going to explain this guy. You're not going to explain it to that guy. Like, because you don't know what shade of white rage you're going to get at that point. You don't know how many people are listening and how many people are going to start yelling at you, because that's the whole design. And what I tried to tell him at that point is, so here's my biggest point, the point that you don't want to talk about. And I know you're probably not listening anymore, but why, if you don't give a shit, why are you yelling? Because you don't understand who you're silencing. Like, that is why you're told to repeat these things, so that you as a white mass can be weaponized, because you're the majority race. And then you can tell someone who isn't fucking bothering you to shut the hell up. Even though, like I already said, now we're getting, everybody's going to be like, oh, it's a conspiracy thing. But the same things that benefit poor black people will benefit poor white people. Because there's cartoons about this. There was just a damn, it was a king and a queen that he was just like, oh, you just tell the pitchfork people that the torch people are trying to take their pitchforks. And then you don't have to fight any of them. Like, then you don't have to whatever. And like I said, I'm not going to get into, not to get into this shit, but what I was trying to tell them is you need to be careful, because like 100 years ago, I was a kraut. I was a dago, which I just got called a dago by a relative of who's talking about me and my kid. And it was bizarre. Let me tell you what, because like I don't even know if it was a joke, but it was one of those things where I was just like, right now you chose to say that? Like, that just felt super fucking weird to me.
I don't even want to say it. Like, that's like,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's fucked up. I mean, it's weird. Why did...
super weird. I ain't heard that shit. That's fuck is this, the 50s?
That's what I'm saying. It's like, this is a 1970s joke. And like I said, I get it. That's how people, maybe everybody used to make fun of each other's race. But I'm just saying, they stopped making fun of my race a while ago because it was convenient for me to be white. It was convenient for them to try to outrage me about shit. How about this? Here's a rule. Maybe don't repeat the news. Don't, like, literally, I've not heard someone outraged about something that has not been printed 2 to 3 days before, or on a YouTube video or whatever. All of these people are getting pissed about things, even the ones that have thousands of followers. Even Candace Owen.
Don't get me started on that bitch.
Even she is repeating dumb shit from dumb white people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and I think a lot of her problem is like just growing up around white people. You learn how to, like, sometimes in order to fit in. That's why, like, a lot of people I go to school with, they're cool now, but back in the day, they didn't realize, like, when you make black jokes or you talk about the only black kid at the table, like, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to suppress your blackness.
Right.
Because you don't know no better. You're a fucking child.
Right.
So it's like, the older I got, the more I realized, like, bro, I ain't finna do that shit for none of y'all folks, you know?
You're probably right, because that's your two choices. When it's an entire room of these people.
Yeah.
And you're forced to be there. That's where we're stuck. We're stuck. Most of us are stuck in whatever, especially poor people, stuck in whatever situation there is, whether it's the neighborhood, the school, the job. You're stuck there. And so then you can't just go around starting shit with these people because you have no clue what's going to happen. And I know, and the depressing part about that is that was also, it was almost taught to you. You know what I'm saying? Like your two choices were either to shut up or to agree. Like you didn't have another choice.
You didn't have another choice.
And like Candace Owen, maybe you're right. Maybe she did just agree. That's how she made it through.
No, and I think bro, she's looking for acceptance. Like, come on, bro. How in the hell could she say the things she says, like, and think it's okay? Especially as a black person, I'm like, you good, homie? Fuck it. I don't even want to talk about the bitch, the dirty
No,
ass
you're right.
bitch.
Yes, because the only reason I brought her up is just because it's all repeated. I have not heard an original thought. Because everybody's always, Candace Owens, her biggest thing, it's like some weird, the left or whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't conform to either party. Yeah. Like, it's a bunch of horse shit that they try to get you to buy into all kinds of horse shit. But Candace Owens, it's the left. That's her theory. It's the left trying to start a race war. They said that about Obama, that he was fanning the flames of racism, even though we have a president that actually is fucking doing it. And I've never seen any of these posters that say kill Whitey. I've never seen a fucking, like, that's why black people aren't going to explain it to you, because it's not their fucking job, because you have no clue how they're affected until you shut the hell up and listen for 10 seconds. And what I was surprised to see at the beginning of after George Floyd being murdered is people saw it. People actually, all of a sudden, some guy just wrote it. It was a guy who covered the riots in LA and in Baltimore and something else. And he said he's cautiously optimistic. And he said he said him and his family and his friends have been all saying the same thing, that they're like, did you see how many white folks are out there is what he said. And again, that's something that I would have never known. It would have clicked, because all of a sudden I know that this conversation, that video has been different than even just 5 years ago, because Garner, Castile, everyone still acted like like LeBron and Kobe, by wearing those t-shirts, were trying to divide America. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, that's not a valid argument, because anybody that can actually think would not have a problem with that, because that's every single time that somebody brings up bullshit their news said. They're not repeating black people because they don't actually talk to fucking black people. They don't know what it's like.
No, they don't. Ignorance at its finest.
100% ignorance. And I don't know. And I mean, so now I'm getting a little bit worried. And the reason why I'm glad we're doing this is because they are slowly trickling out now. I don't know if you've realized, like, all of a sudden now it feels like, okay, now that everyone's been in the streets for a while and there's a little more looting and a little more things like that, they're like, all right, didn't we do enough? Didn't you guys get to march around and whatever? And I think that's the difference by having the masses of white people out there that's actually helping, is you can't ignore it. You can't shut it off, even though news and things are trying to do that. But I don't know if a lot of people aren't talking about it, but I'm worried about how the disease that was already COVID-19, that was already disproportionately affecting poor and black people, will affect this. I'm worried that it's going to turn into a weaponized thing. And I know that even that sounds crazy when we talk about weaponizing a disease. At the same time, though, you see cops pulling down masks and spraying people in the face.
Man, come on.
That
don't sound crazy.
No, well, so that's what I'm saying. They're already weaponizing. They're using respiratory ailments to spread diseases. And then I'm like, so then these guys are coughing all over each other and all this shit, people minding their own goddamn business, and you decide to beat the fuck out of them. And I'm also worried that my optimism of this movement this time is because of the fact that it needs to be different this time, because Dave Chappelle is the one who said it in that video. Did you watch his video?
Yeah.
The way he ended it, and I know it probably scared a lot of people, but I had it in the back of my mind too, that his exact quote, I believe, was, okay, I'm not going to say exact quote, because again, I'm not a historian, I'm not writing. This is drawn with magic marker. he said, this is the last chance for civil discourse. Like that, I think, because he said after that, he started making gun noises. And it makes me nervous because I feel like if we don't get it right this time, it might be too late. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've had the same feeling.
Yeah, for a fact. That's why I wish people would educate themselves on what's going on and better ways to fight and exercise their rights a little bit better.
Right.
Like gun rights. I know you want gun control, but here's the thing. If you think about it, all those people at Trump rallies or who go out and protest bullshit, KKK, they all have guns, ARs, automatic rifles.
Right.
We have the same exact rights.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel like we should exercise those rights. Because at the end of the day, I do feel like if they don't get it right this time,
I don't know what it's going to look like.
It's going to get bad.
That's what I mean. Like, because I can't even imagine, what about the next George Floyd? If his killers get convicted, which again, I'm a little nervous about that because they never get convicted. Almost never. And I know this is different. It should be different. But like I said, everyone's like, oh, this is different. But I'm like, we're only a couple weeks out. This shit is going to go on for a long fucking time. If it doesn't look different, then what does this look like? What does this happen when it happens the next time? And are we going to go back and look at all those videos? Because the George Floyd video was just as horrific as you just name a fucking video. Even all the way back to Rodney King. That I was like, when was the last time anybody watched that video? It was fucked up. And then they just let him go.
Let it slide.
They 100% were like, oh, it doesn't matter.
But what about the shit that's not on video? Like,
yes.
What about that Breonna Taylor girl? Then what'd they do? Just bust into her house?
They, from what I've read, there was no warrant search. Bust open the door, and then a bunch of people got shot. She got shot a bunch of fucking times. And it's not, and that's what somebody said. They're like, I can't help but feel like the same action isn't happening over this because there's not a video. And that's what everyone's fucking missing. That I was just like, if white people want to bring up race and they want to bring it, how come they don't talk about white people, whatever. I was like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the color of her skin. It doesn't matter if she was a cop. It doesn't matter if it was on video. It doesn't matter if it was a woman. No one should be allowed to bust open the door, execute you based on things that they don't understand, and get away with it. That makes no fucking sense. Why does that exist in America, where 1 in 4 people in the entire world that's locked up, imprisoned, is here in this one small ass country? I know they make America look like it's gigantic on the maps, on the projections that you guys see, but it's a small country. And yet 25% of all incarcerated people are in this country.
And that's because people get paid off of prisons and prisoners.
You should watch, yes, if you haven't watched 13th on Netflix, it's genius. It explains the entire thing. It should have been taught in schools. Schooling has been, because you remember when we had that conversation that I said I learned how much I like to learn the second I got out of school?
Yes.
And
Agreed.
Because they didn't teach me about Nat Turner. They didn't teach me about the fucking racist monuments that they put up and also those monuments that everybody thinks they're erasing history. They were put up in the 20s, late 1940s, early 1950s, and then the late 60s, mid to late 60s. And those all coincided with Jim Crow laws right after World War II, when black people were allowed to fight next to white people, and they wanted to send a message, hey, you're back in America, nothing changed. And then during the Civil War, I'm a fucking idiot. Civil rights movement of the 60s, that they were trying to send a message, just like they couldn't legally lynch people anymore, so they can't do it that way. So then they do it erecting stupid monuments made by racists. Not in that they think everybody who says you're erasing history thinks it was Abraham Lincoln chiseling these things. It was Robert E. Lee himself that put up that thing. But no, they were racist people that made racist monuments for racist purposes. I know that, I don't know. I think some people always look at me like I'm weird when I get pissed about this shit. And I don't know if it's because maybe it's the way I look. I don't know. Like maybe it's the way I talk. They wouldn't imagine that somebody who's like a nerdy fat guy, would care.
Yeah, stop that. No. I mean, honestly, like, you're smart. You're articulate. You know what I'm saying? You're a well-rounded white person. You're like the model of what a white person should be. Not trying to be funny, but like,
no.
And you got most of them out here who are ignorant, who don't know much, who aren't willing to go and learn and be quiet. Like, you've been through some shit, so
Yeah, because that's what I keep trying to say. I'd like to imagine I would have learned all this shit, no matter if the cops fucked with me or no matter if the cop, because that's literally my own. Like I said, I'm not saying never said I hate cops. Never happened. Never came out of my mouth. Didn't come out of your mouth.
I hate cops.
If you push me, because here's the reason why. They've never helped me. Like literally
Never.
I don't know what people know about me, but I grew up poor as fuck. And without my father there for most of my childhood, the only things that I saw about the cops, fucking with me, fucking with my brothers, not really my sister because she's a white lady, so they don't fuck with her. But even though she's the worst out of all of us, every single time we go somewhere that I'm like, what do you have? Like I'm always just like, we got priors and shit. You gotta you gotta throw that out the door. And then when I was a kid, and you sit there and you witness domestic disputes or you witness things, and the police get called, and the police literally show up and go, sorry, like, what are we gonna? We can't kick them out. We can't do it. Like, they didn't help us. That's all I saw of the cops. They literally, there's a bunch of the cops saying, better luck next time. That's what they were saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so maybe that's what shaped it. Maybe, I don't know. But to me, I'm not trying to be, everybody always thinks I've got something because they're like, oh, there's all of these things I've never heard. So they got to put it to a side. They're like, what side? You know what I'm saying? Like, they got to align me with something. Oh, well, you're just repeating leftist shit, or you're just repeating socialist shit, or you're just, and I'm like, no, literally, I read. Like, I fucking talk to people that don't look like me because you fucking white people aren't interesting.
I mean, he ain't wrong. Say no, I'm playing.
I don't mean to make it sound, because anyway.
Hey, bro, somebody got to rip him a new hole. They ain't gonna listen if it's coming from me.
I don't want to hear the same bullshit again. Like, why in the fuck do I have to listen to you white people saying the same thing and acting like it's an original opinion? I know where you heard it. I can trace it back if you really want me to. But then that's why I get fucking tired of talking to you people, because it's not you. The articles, if I go back and I trace back the original part of every single sentence that you said, at the end of it, you're going to be like, oh, I didn't really care anyway. And I'm going to be like, yeah, of course you didn't fucking care, because it was not your opinion and you had no clue what you were just doing. All you were doing is yelling over top of people. And what I realized is you can silence RJ. But I realized that face, the thing I was talking about, my skin and all that stuff, you can't do that same thing to me. So I just piss everybody off, so nobody wants to talk to me anyway. See, let me put it that way. I don't hate cops or white people. They seem to have a problem with me. That's, I don't know. I don't want this to be, here's what if you guys are going to take anything from this, what I'm trying to say is listen to black people, for sure, if you haven't already. Don't shout over top. Try to stay silent. Drink water. Educate yourself. Look up the Rosewood race massacre. Look up the Tulsa race massacre. These are things that we weren't taught in school. Things where hundreds of people were injured and murdered and completely had to start over from the ground up. And then you wonder why there is a history of poverty. Why if you are born poor, there's a 99% chance you're going to be poor when you die. And it makes, if you're here, you understand it. I don't know. Like I said, I just don't, I'm not saying anybody's stupid. I'm not saying the cops suck. I just think that if we don't,
the cops suck.
We don't. I'm glad you do seem different since the case has been over. Like, it feels like
mentally, bro, I had to heal, bro.
It feels like you were scarred from that. And
yeah, bro, I was devastated. Like, because that shit happened where, I come back home from Columbus, and then that bullshit happened with the Jackson police.
Right. And
I'm in jail on fucking one night. And I'm
for
like,
nothing. If you would have had a ride.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know, bro. It kind of like, it breaks you as a human being.
I get it. No, I get it, because me and you have been in all kinds of situations where we're stuck. Every single time, and different things is our fault, different things is not our fault, but that one right there, you had no control over. You were doing what you were supposed to be doing. Yeah. Working, getting money, and trying to figure out a way to live. And yeah, they were just like, nope, not today.
Not today, nigga. Don't repeat that. Don't ask me if you could say a N-word. He knows better.
Why would you want to? as a white person, again, if you read a fucking book, there's no reason why you'd want to. I think it's too many people listening to rap, and then they.
It's that rap music, bro, and they just be getting comfortable. It's like a motherfucker the other day, like, "Hey man, can I say the N-word?" And I'm like, "Probably not. Don't say it around me. I'm not the one."
And don't settle. That's my last thing. That I'm just like, I think we're actually making some progress for once, and that's the unfortunate thing about all this stuff that you end up looking at the civil rights movement, that everybody wants to look at Martin Luther King. Well, racists will bring up Martin Luther King Jr. They're like, why aren't you doing it like him? He gave us a blueprint, yes, but so did Malcolm X. There's all these different things that they ended up, and they didn't teach us. Did they ever mention Malcolm X in school?
No, briefly. Because, you already know why.
I know why, because I read. But I'm wondering, as you learn more about it over the years, then you start to and get further away from high school. What did they say? What did they tell us about Malcolm X? I don't even remember.
Pretty much you're like, we have Martin Luther King. He's peaceful. He did the right thing. And then you have Malcolm X. He did some shit.
And they always have that picture of him with the AK looking out the window. And it's like,
they more so portrayed him as violent, and he was the opposite of Martin Luther King. Like, they both stood for the same thing, but you don't want to do it Malcolm X's way because it's bad and it's violent. And
I think it's interesting because people get pissed at him for criticizing Martin Luther King Jr. And here's a historical thing. You remember how they had that on the news about a kid getting pepper sprayed? Mm-hmm. And everybody's gut reaction is always, don't bring kids, which me and you, probably, that would make sense. Yes, now I have a kid. I don't think I'd be bringing her to a protest, but that has historical context. And if you would read, you'd know that. Martin Luther King Jr. had kids at some of his marches. I think they were at the Selma March, I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. And his exact point was, if I am allowed a peaceful protest, then what does it matter if kids are here? Like, this is a peaceful protest. And maybe he knew that they were all going to be attacked. Maybe he knew that the dogs were going to happen. I'm sure he knew. But what he showed was they don't have the same right to a peaceful protest. What he showed was, he essentially proved us. That's the biggest lesson from Martin Luther King Jr. that white people don't want to listen to. He proved that I can march all I want, but you're gonna still pepper spray, beat me, put on dogs onto me, and all this stuff. And Malcolm X knew that. That's what Malcolm X's biggest thing was. He was like, I don't agree with Martin Luther King Jr.'s teachings because I don't think it works. It would be nice if it does. That's literally what he said. Yep. But I don't think it's going to get any results. That's the crazy part, is if you do read, you'll realize all the same shit is the same exact shit as 80 years ago. Like, it's the same exact headlines, same exact everything. It's the civil rights movement. And people want to act like things have changed. And people want to forget that you don't get to just sit there and say all lives matter. I can't believe I'm still explaining this. Like, that's the crazy part. They were trying to do that 5 years ago, right? The all lives matter bullshit. You don't get to sit there and passively accept black and brown people getting beat and murdered as if they don't matter. And then all of a sudden, when it's shown to you, you don't get to say, oh, well, I've always believed that. Like, I've always believed Black Lives Matter. That's because all lives matter. And you can prove, no, you can't prove that by any of your actions because you've never done anything. That's what I was trying to say, is that Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., so many activists have proven you cannot passively change this system. You need to be actively involved and actively make a difference. And there's been some little things. There's been stuff that happened very quickly. I was surprised, but I can't help but feel like, oh, it's lawmakers and stuff. Go back inside. Come on, we got this. Like, it's all. I don't think it's time. Like, there's no way. So many of those different things that people don't realize lasted a year or more. Old protests from the 1960s. It's not time yet. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I just know that if there's another George Floyd, I don't know what the fuck America's going to look like. I've got no clue.
I don't know, bro. People are tired. People are fed up. And like you said, it helps going to these protests or seeing them on TV and you see a bunch of white people.
Right.
You know, it helps.
That was weird for me to read. I didn't know that was, because to me, it reflected what should have been happening. You know what I mean? But I recognized it was different. I recognized that even 5 years ago, nobody gave a shit. But yeah, I was just like, I guess I didn't think about that. You know what I mean? And like I said, that's how you need to talk to people that don't look like you. You know what I mean? Because that's the only way we're going to learn anything or listen to people.
Yeah, right, bro.
You're not going to learn the same thing by talking to a bunch of people that have gone through the same shit.
No.
And I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. Those are the two biggest things I learned, I think, from all these protests and shit. And I still got a lot to learn. So I wanted it to be clear. That's what I learned about all this stuff. I was like, fine, everyone wants to yell. Me and you do art. Me and you do all kinds of stuff. I want to make sure it's prevalent in everything I do because it's one of the only things I give a shit about. And again, I don't know why. I just do. It just feels the fact that you even have to ask why me. Why do I give a shit? We're human. I don't understand. I don't understand how you can't. It shouldn't take videos of George Floyd with his daughter or him saying his opinions to see him as a human being and a father and a whatever. Like you could, right. Anybody could have seen this. It doesn't matter what color that guy was under Derrick's knee. It was over. It was like God. It didn't. All of those people stood right there and begged him to get off. Said check his pulse. It amounted to nothing. It literally. It didn't matter what happened. That guy. He was going to kill him no matter what circumstance. And yeah, if you think that's right, then that's it. But I'm just letting you know.
Weirdos.
Bunch of fucking weirdos.
I'm sorry. I just couldn't even reason with you. I don't get it either. If you got something that's negative to say about it, weirdo. I'm serious. You're right.
Yeah.
How could you watch that and have anything else to say?
It doesn't make any sense. How could you watch any of the videos?
Any of them.
And yeah, everyone's always like, yeah, but this. But I'm like, so then say it. I don't even want to hear it anymore. Say that he deserved to die then, if you want to do it. That way I know exactly what I'm dealing with if I'm going to have a conversation with you. Because I don't give a fuck what George Floyd did. I don't give a fuck what any of them did. They didn't deserve to be snuffed out in the street. And that's why I continue to say, George Floyd was murdered. I'm not gonna mince words. It was an execution. That's what all of these videos are. So I don't know. I have no clue what the new world order is going to look like. It's probably, if push comes to, I don't know if you feel the same way. If I had to guess, it's probably not going to be all that different. I feel like,
no,
it's been.
I just hope we're on like the rich side.
Yeah. If we had money, then we don't have to worry about this.
Yeah, we need to get on the rich side.
Well, I'm not going to get any money with these, sponsors. The White Guilt Complex, brought to you by Malcolm X and Starbucks. They have cake pops.
I'm not gonna lie. Some Starbucks would go right
Do you
now.
buy? No.
No, I'm joking. I actually do have a Starbucks card in my book bag. And it has money on it because they're anti-racist. Wait, they're anti-racist.
They're anti-racist. Yeah, it's a goofy term. Like I said, I know that sounds weird. I mean, I know what the word means, but everybody always wants to say reverse racism and everyone wants to say all kinds of bullshit. So when I first heard it, I was like, what is this one now? What is... Did someone give you this Starbucks card?
Yeah.
Yeah, then spend it.
Nah. What the fuck am I going to go to Starbucks for?
They're disgusting. Like, I mean, legitimately, even the ones that are even remotely good, they're like, oh, try this. It's like 90% sugar. It's a cup this big with this much sugar and water.
If I'm drinking Starbucks, I probably bought that shit from fucking gas station, Speedway, Marathon, iced coffee. I don't fuck with Starbucks. I don't fuck with coffee.
No, I don't even drink coffee. I don't know why I didn't, but it's disgusting anyway. Like it smells good.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. I don't feel like I have anything else I want to yell to white people right now. Is there anything you want to say? Any closing remarks?
Fuck 12. Fuck the police. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I got off my chest. Fuck 12. Like, I don't know. I'm glad you got to yell at white people today. I don't hate white people, you know.
No, well,
but
see,
they're going to yell over it. Just like he's yelling over
like
top
I'm
of
yelling
me.
over top of you right now. Yes, that's exactly because I was taught this through propaganda, and I don't even realize when I'm doing it until afterwards. So you got to figure that out. But anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt, Roger.
No, I'm just playing. But no, I'm just saying, like, this is not I hate white people, and that's like you said, they can yell over top of me and just call it for what it is.
You also pause too long in between that, so I can just take that chunk of I hate white people and just repeat. You're looking right in the camera.
Loop that shit. I'll rap over it.
Oh.
No, bro, because I got, like you said, I got mad love for everybody. Like,
yeah,
we're humans at the end of the day. Like, it doesn't matter what the color of your skin is.
It shouldn't offend you when someone says white people. If you're not, like, even that stupid fucking, do you remember that a couple years ago when they released that Gillette Boys Will Be Boys commercial and a bunch of people got pissed about it? Do you remember that?
What happened?
It was probably just a white person thing. I bet, because the only reason I heard about it, because I don't even watch TV. It was a commercial where they were just saying like, oh, it's enough boys will be boys talk. No more rape culture. No more all this shit. And it was Gillette. So it was like saying, hey, we're men. We're real men. We don't whatever. And a bunch of people were like even Joe Rogan, he's like, men don't like to be lectured. That's the word. And I was like, okay, first of all, lecturing. No one likes to be lectured, dumb fuck. But for some reason, you insist on, I mean, he goes around, all kinds of these white people want to lecture everybody. And yeah, and as soon as they decide to say, hey, you're not whatever, like these men are going to stand for this, you can't go around being a chauvinist and all this shit, then everybody got up in arms about it. And they were like, I'm going to boycott Gillette Stadium. And it's been years. Or Gillette. And it's been years, and Gillette Stadium is still for the Patriots, and there's still people are still buying razors from the thing. I don't even shave, so I have no clue about Gillette. but so what I'm saying is, men, no, the Gillette commercial didn't fucking offend me because it's not. I don't align myself with that behavior. Just like cops, they should have been. They're coming out now, but they should have been right at the beginning, saying, no, I'm not. I don't align myself with that guy. That guy's not a cop. He's a piece of shit. And yeah, then maybe more cops would be like, yeah, tap the guy on the leg and be like, hey, get off his fucking neck. You know what I mean? That would have ended the whole thing.
It's a gang, bro. You know, they're a gang. You can't oppose to the gang. Like Dave Chappelle, how he was talking about
that other guy that we can't remember his name. Dorner?
Chris Dorner?
Yeah.
That police officer who was like, yo, this bitch is tripping. And they fired his ass.
It's not, that happens to white and black. Like, that's what's crazy.
Yeah.
Now a bunch of guys are releasing essays and stuff. It's called Something of a Bastard Cop. I just saw it on Instagram, but it's an essay that the guy wrote. But he told a story about how he decided to, like, it's a game to them. They don't think about people as people. They think about them as, how can I get the most out of this guy? You know what I mean? Like, yep. It's a puzzle. He said, there's another essay from a dude who said he walked up and he had punched a kid in the nose. The cop punched the kid in the nose, obviously deviated septum, all kinds of shit. And they said, the cop walked up, he was relatively new, and he said, what do we charge him with? And then the other cop goes, what did he do? And then he's like, well, he called me a name, is what he said. And then he was like, this is from a cop. I'm not making this up. I'll link an article or something. I don't even know where this is going to go. YouTube, I guess. But so then he puts the cop, and so then he's just like, well, whatever. And then he writes his own thing of the truth. He writes a report, and the sergeant tried to come up and sway him to get their story right and sway all these things. And he got shit. He got moved to a new team. None of his team would call him. They were all trying to tell him, and he kept doing it. He would kind of try to whistleblow on people, different cops, to be a good apple. And you can't do it, because then they sequestered him. He ended up losing his job, and he can't get employed. He tried to say, and he can't get employed even today. Hopefully the article helps, but if I had to guess, it's not going to. Like, all it's going to prove, every cop is going to read that and be like, yeah, that's why you're a fucking weasel, because it's a gang. They only think about him as a snitch. It's bullshit. I don't know. Anyway, I feel like we've done it. Did we beat racism today?
We definitely beat racism.
Thank God. We are in a post-racist society. That's the other.
Doesn't exist
no.
in this studio.
We can't. You need to keep talking about it. The only reason that this shit is gonna ever even look like it's gone away is if we continue to talk about it. It's gonna be uncomfortable.
How the fuck we gonna get out of it?
I'm not gonna explain how I did it last time, because you're not gonna want to do it. But there's no cell phone reception either. I appreciate you being on here. Let me just say, I have like 3 friends, and you know that. And two of them are my brothers. So it's you. No, that's not true. But I care about you. I'm glad that you wanted to come do this with me. I'm glad that we can talk about this shit openly. I'm glad that you're doing all right. I'm glad to see you happy. I'm sorry I didn't send you flowers. I know I said I would send you flowers.
No, bro. Come on.
When you beat the case, I didn't. I'm not gonna lie, because when you said it was looking good months ago, I could see how much it broke you, and I was like, all right, no, good, you got a guy. But after we hung up, I was just like, I think they got you. That's what I was thinking. I was like, this guy's going to serve jail. And it's bullshit because if you didn't have the money, they would have put you in jail.
Oh man, I know.
For nothing. For absolutely nothing. Not even worth an argument that the prosecutor was like, yeah, and you would have spent months in jail, not able to get
And
it.
actually, that probably would have fucked my life up.
In jail, yeah, it would have for real fucked your shit up because then you would have lost your job, you would have lost probably your car, anywhere you live in, it doesn't matter. People don't understand that once you're in the system, you're fucked. And we're all lucky that we're not. You know what I mean? That's what I don't understand. Even rich people, of course, are probably not going to happen, but I do. I mean, I've had relatives and all kinds of shit that just a couple of wrong moves, it's over. You can't. It's not about rehabilitation. It's not about like they just want you to shut up and go to jail.
Yep. You done?
I'm done. Thanks again. Let's see if we can figure out how to get out of here.
Can we go to Starbucks after this?
Hell no. I don't have any more sponsored lines. Starbucks brought to you by I should have put some I
got one. Okay. Starbucks. Do you like your coffee black?
Now we do too.
Oh shit.
That was good. All right, let's end it before we fuck it up.
I didn't mean to call you fat on camera, bro.
I don't care. I think it's good. It did help me focus. I know that sounds weird, but a good insult in the morning helps me get going.